Alright, howdy folks. Well, as you can see, we've got the head placed on the motor. We've got the head bolts just snug. We don't have them torqued. We're going to torque them in this video. I'm also going to go through some of the hose routing and some of the wiring in this video. Plus, we're going to put our injector lines back on in this video. But we're not going to do that until after we get the head bolts torqued, or at least initial torque. Now, there's all sorts of reference material out there, folks. You know, this is the one that came with the head bolts. This is the one that came with the head gasket. This is the stuff out of the book. Okay? Now, they all relatively have the same methods to the madness. But I'm going to go through up until we have to start the engine. Because there is a point where you have to start this motor, warm it up, and then let it cool down, and re-torque at another 90 degrees. But we're just going to go through the torque sequence, and we're going to actually, I think probably we're going to use, we might use the Victor Rhines method. And we're going to be doing this in Newton meters. This is not foot-pounds. This is Newton meters. Okay? So 35 Newton meters, torque all, and then come back and torque them to 60 Newton meters. And then this is where you're going to have to get yourself an angle gauge or a torque wrench with angle function, because you're going to need to go 90 degrees and then another 90 degrees after you've got them all torqued down. Then you heat the motor up, you warm it up, you run it, let it cool down, and then come back and do it another 90 degrees, and then drive it for 1,000 miles and redo it at 90 degrees. Put another 90 degrees into the head bolts. Okay? That's the way that I have read it in pretty much all the reference material that I have access to. If anybody else has anything different, put it down in the comments. But that is, pretty much all the reference material that I have referenced. This is the way that they say it. Some of them say start you off at like the manual says to start off at 40 Newton meters, where the Victor Rhines says to start off at 35. Part of me says that they're just a little light on the Victor Rhines, just to go with it. Now, torque sequence. Torque sequence is almost identical. Yeah, they start you off differently, but the one that we're going to be referencing is the one from the service manual. Okay, we're going to go with that torque sequence, and I'm going to show you this, folks. Yeah. Okay, there went the remote. But that is your torque sequence. And then after 1,000 miles, another 90 degrees. So, let me pick up the boat, and we're gonna start. Alright, so start off at 40 Newton meters. Back it down, 40 Newton meters. This is number one, make sure that it's on position. .8, and then number 2 is right on top. Oh, and folks, there we go. This bolt right here, make darn sure that you get it in the bolt hole, not into the drain back hole, because you are going to have a pain in the butt getting it out. Trust me, know that from experience. Just saying. Now, number 3 is the one over here. I do believe that you folks can see all this, hopefully. This one right here. So, we're going to go 40 Newton meters on this. And then number 4 is over here. From second in the back, second from the timing gear. Three, and then number 5 is the one right across from it. .4004. Some ways, folks, I just don't know if I like this torque wrench because it beeps right before. Now, number 6 is across from number 3, which would be one in the back here, second from your lock plate. No. 42. Okay, I'll handle that. Now we're moving on to number 7. Number 7 is the one in the front of the motor, right next to your timing gear. .3009. That's a little light. 4009. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. Now, number 8 is in the back. You're probably going to have to take your lock plate out for this one. Remember, folks, before you put this head on, you should be having the crank at TDC and your lock plate in. You know, do this as if you're doing a timing job, okay? .4008. Now 9 is right across. .4003. Number 10 is the one on the back side next to your cam gear. .4007. There we go. Now this is your initial torque. Now you got to go up to 60 Newton meters. Newton-meters, folks. And then this is where you start back at 1. And the big reason why they are having you do it in these steps is not just because of the bolts. This is also to help seat the head onto the gasket so that you actually have a proper seal between the gasket and the head. Now, in the last video I said I was going to use copper spray gasket on the head gasket. I have since referenced the reference material for the actual head gasket that I am using. Mine says do not use it. So make sure that when you are putting your head gasket on that you're doing it properly. I really don't think that you're going to have much of a problem if you did put copper spray gasket on it, but by the company's standards they say don't do it. So 60 Newton meters. .6003. And just keep referencing your reference material here, folks. And putting your head bolts in, make sure that you put a light machine oil on them, or machine oil of some sort, so that you get proper clamp load. Don't use like an ARP thread lube, because that is not what these fasteners are designed for. These are designed for a machine oil. .6006. Number 3. .61.1. A little over, but we should be fine. Number 4. .6005. Number 5. 6007. Number 6 is across from number 3. $60.07. Now, as you are noticing, folks, you have to be very consistent with your pull. You can't just reef on it and expect it to come out right. Number 7 at the front next to the timing gear. $60.08. Number 8. $60.06. And then number 9 comes down here. $61.07. And then number 10. $61.04. Alright. Now, this is where you put your torque wrench away unless you've got a torque wrench that does angles. Now, as you can see, folks, I was actually having to really pull on those bolts. Now, I'm going to stand here at the front, and I'm going to do it this way. You can pick these up from most auto parts stores, a dial gauge. Has 360 degrees of rotation, half-inch drive, and you just put your pointer on something so that it doesn't move. Now, this is a very crucial step because the 90 degrees has to be done in one motion. So, gonna call that one. Dropping stuff. All right. Number 3. Now I know that some of you just hate using these bloody things. And I totally understand why. Okay. Actually, I don't think we got that one. Okay, now, what's number 4 again? Number 4 is up here. You fucker. Okay. Oofed. Number 5 is one right below it. Now, is this perfect? No. No, this is far from perfect, folks. So, stay up. Did I say slouch? No, I didn't. Fuck you. All right. There's that. Now. Alright. Seven. Alright. 8. Come on. Get in the hole. There we go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Alright. 8's great. Alright. And then we'll come back to 10. Now, my gauge actually does not work worth the darn. So, you will have to eyeball it sometimes, folks. Alright. Now, we've got them all torqued down to the first 90. Okay? Now, if you need to, folks, mark them off. You know, mark off what you've done. So, So, the tightening sequence should, in theory, actually be done. But if you use the Victorines, you gotta go another 90 degrees. Okay. That's always fun. But I feel we're gonna go by the service manual standards because they know best, and the bolt manufacturers are saying yeah, just do the heat, the 90. So let's move on to prepping this to start. Now I hope folks, you can see where having the lines together was the best way to do this. So, and make sure that you just get them started. Don't tighten them all the way down. Now you put the injector lines on, and see folks, this also prevents you from putting them in the wrong spot. Now that you've got them all started, now you can actually tighten them down all the way. But do it by hand first and then by feel. Yeah, by the wrench. And folks, I just used a standard open end 17 for this, so now you don't have to get them super duper tight, but just get them snug. Well, I see somebody that might come over for a little bit. Might even get another plug.
We'll actually have to talk later. I've got a meeting to get to.
All right. Well, I was hoping to give a gamer shout out. Actually, the guy that sold it to me, sold the car to me. So, so. Now, when your injector lines are together, they shouldn't move. And make sure that you run off of number 1 injector into your pump. It doesn't run straight into your line. Now, as far as it goes, folks, as I said in the assembly video of the cylinder head, we did not torque the oil pressure sensor into the head because we were teeing off for an oil pressure gauge. But the blue with the white tracer goes down to your coolant temp sensor, and so does the yellow. The other wire goes over to your oil pressure sensor. And of course the big red wire with the white tracer goes to your glow plugs. So folks, realistically, it's just putting your timing belt back on and putting the hoses on, throwing oil into it, of which, when it comes to oil, folks, if you do not like CK4, the new CK4 style of oil for your diesel, as far as I know, Ford Motor Company still is saying no go on CK4 oil for the Power Strokes. So, with that said, if you go with a Motorcraft oil, in theory it shouldn't be the CK4. It actually doesn't have the API donut, which is kind of a little disconcerting, but that's just the way that they play it. Now, we drape our fuel line over the back of our intake, and alrighty folks, we're almost ready to fire this motor off. So I'm gonna call it here, because I mean we are at least a good 45 minutes in. So thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.